2 hours every single day, Monday through Friday for 6 weeks, and on Saturdays for 3 hours I would take a practice exam 6 weeks in a row. From 8 to 11, or 9 to 12 actually I think it was, 9 to 12 every Saturday morning I did that. I went on vacation on the beach. I would leave at 4 o'clock to go do my studying on the week that I was on there. That's how, you know, if you're going to do something like this, you have to be committed and you have to totally go for it no matter what else is going on. So, you know, obviously those aren't times that you want to do that necessarily, but if that's the kind of thing that you aspire to, and this is where I talk about strive for excellence. If you want to do something great, be committed to it and put all into it. So that's what I did, and I took the GMAT one time, and I had a number in mind that I'd done my research and realized that I wanted to go to Wharton. I was from the Philadelphia area now. I didn't grow up from the area, but I'd lived there. I still had very close friends there. I felt like I wanted to be back in Philadelphia, and Wharton is, you know, one of the best business schools, you know, from the rank standpoint. So I felt that that would validate things. So, you know, everything worked well for, you know, made sense for Wharton. Plus, I'd made one of the goals that I have, so I count countries that I've been to. I've been to 42 countries, and I compete with a buddy who's blowing me away. He's like almost 60 now. So a life goal is to be in more countries than you are years old. So just take that for what it's worth. So I realized that I'm never going to beat Jeff. Jeff and I are buddies from the IBI. So talking about that, that's another place where I have lifelong friends. I actually talked to Jeff on the way up here today because he was meeting people from Cardone that he knew that I knew, and so he called me up, and so we remain good friends. So Jeff's at 60, so I knew I would never beat him on the country count, but I realized I could beat him on the continent count. So I was thinking, all right, I could see how I could get to all 7 continents, or 6 of the 7 continents. How am I going to get to Antarctica? So, and then as I was doing the research, I kid you not, it was within 48 hours. I think it was in 24 hours, but I'm sure it was within 48 hours. I had this thought, how am I going to get to Antarctica? And then, unrelated, I was doing research on MBA programs, and Wharton had a program, a leadership program, where you could go to Antarctica. Well, there you go. That seals the deal for me. And in fact, I did go to Antarctica on when I was at Wharton. But I focused on the GMAT. I got the number that I wanted. That validated again, yes, this is in the realm of possibility. And so went through the process. I also applied to Yale. That was the other. Those were the 2 MBA programs that I applied to. I got into both. And decided I loved the Yale program, but all the practicalities really worked out for Wharton, and it was just a phenomenal decision. So I went to Wharton, 2 years MBA program, 800 people in my class, so slightly different than the Houghton experience. So what they did is they broke us into cohorts of, whoa, we are way, way, way beyond. I apologize. So they broke us up into smaller groups that we went through the first year and really got to know the people. But phenomenal experience. The people that I was with were absolutely phenomenal, top-notch. I probably learned more from my classmates and my peers than I did from the learning itself. That's one of the big takeaways. And also then just the doors, the opportunities. I don't think Wharton didn't make me any smarter per se. I mean, I got great learning and stuff, but I'm not a better person because I went to Wharton or from somebody that didn't go. What I have is I have a bit of a ticket that people will perk up and listen a little bit more. Oh, you went to Wharton? That gets me in the door more. Now I have to prove it. So that's what that's. The advantage of that is that, that little bit of the, oh, you went to Wharton, I'll listen to what you have to say. If you're talking junk, I'm not going to do anything about it, but at least I'll listen to get you into the door. You still have to prove yourself. So, and then a lot of times the things that I prove myself on are based on my experiences, not at Wharton necessarily. But so I finished at Wharton, and then I focused at sports, and about a year ago, I was thinking about a project that I did while I was at Wharton. Every time they said, do a project with an outside company, I would see how I could do a sports angle on it. So I did 2 projects with the Philadelphia Eagles, one with the Atlanta Hawks, one focusing on the valuation of the Chicago Cubs, and I also worked with the Warren Moon's Foundation. Warren Moon is the first African-American quarterback Hall of Famer. So those are some of the things, and that's where I talk about make the most of being a student. One thing I did when I was at Houghton, we had one project on branding that we had to do. I called up the Buffalo Bisons, called the marketing person, said, hey, I have to do this project. Would you be interested if I did this? And then you give me some information, help me out a little bit with it. I'll do the report, and then when I'm done the report, I'll actually give it to you. You know, that's kind of the thank you of helping me out. You get to see somebody else's thoughts on, you know, how this works. And he goes, great. And he actually gave me a lot of great information, you know, gave me a little bit of swag along the way. And, you know, so that was great. And so I was able to, you know, do that. And then I carried that on when I was at Wharton. It's, you know, make the most of being a student. Also, sometimes you want a job someplace, call them up. Hey, I'm a student and I'm doing a report. It doesn't have to be for a class. You don't have to be getting credit for it. I'm doing a report on this topic which is in your area. I was wondering if I could interview you for this paper. Sure, yeah, no problem. You're not asking for a job. You're not asking for anything but 15 minutes of their time with an interview. Now you get to know them, they get to know you, you get to know a little bit more about what they do. Write a paper. Forget if it's for a class or not. Hopefully you can fit it in and take that, you know, get a little credit for it. But even if you don't, you send it to them, they see, now you've shown them something that's unique from anything that anybody else coming out of college has done for them. So you've actually provided some value. So when I talk about making the most of being a student, that's what I did. So this one project for the Atlanta Hawks, we had to create, it was a marketing metrics class, and we had to create a dashboard for an outside company. So I did it, I knew from a conference I'd met the CMO from the Atlanta Hawks. So I called him up and I said, could I do this project for you? He said, sounds great. I'd actually approached some local business schools for this and no one got back to me, so this is perfect. So I did it, he loved it, the professor loved it, it was all great. We created the framework for him so that he could create his own. He left the Hawks about a month later, so nothing ever happened about it. So about a year later, I was thinking, doing another reevaluation, thinking, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? I've got now this degree. I was working with the soccer team in Baltimore. I was working with a foundation for a former NFL player, doing kind of these different consulting projects. But what is it that I really want to do? And it hit me about this project that I had done on the Atlanta Hawks. And I said, why don't I turn that project into a product? And so, just show you real quick here. Basically, this is it. So this is the dashboard. So Sports Business Intelligence is a web-based dashboard where you can look at things like as the business, weekly cash flow, revenue by game, attendance by game, their marketing spend, their suite sales, their sales force effectiveness, and many other things. And then with each one of these, there's a drill down dashboard that gives you more details about, I think I'm logged out, so nope, it's actually coming up. I think it's going to log me out, but oh no, here you go. So now here's more details in weekly cash flow. This is the one that was on the main page, and then lots of breakouts. So if you're looking at tickets, sponsorships, parking, concessions, all these things. So this is what Sports Business Intelligence is, and it's something that it exists in other industries. Finance, Fortune 500 companies use it, but sports teams don't use it. So I approached somebody that I had worked for on a project with the Philadelphia Eagles, who was now with the Washington Capitals. I stayed in contact with him from when I did the project and he moved. I called him up and said, I'm thinking about doing this thing. He said, come on down. I went to a game, met him at a bar in the stadium before the game, packed of people, popped open my laptop, showed him in Excel a concept of this. And within 30 seconds he was pointing at it going, I need that. And so that's how I decided to do it. So I've now created this. It's taken a long time with, you know, learning IT stuff and how to deal with IT people. This has been creative. I've signed the Washington Capitals, and now I'm in the process of I'm working with other teams as well. So we're getting close. Hopefully in the next week to 2 weeks, we'll have some additional announcements. So that's kind of where I am with that now. So taking a little bit more time than I had hoped to. One last thing. Can I go over a few minutes? Are we okay? All right. If you do have to go, I understand. So just go if you need to go. What do I need to hit to make this the full screen?
You want me to cycle through those?
Just how do I get to full screen again?
Bottom right down.
Bottom right. There it is. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the main things. So again, have a vision, take risks, stay true to yourself, strive for excellence, develop leadership skills, and make the most of being a student. So those are, if you leave with nothing else, remember those things. What I also thought about was just, as I couldn't think of any other way to frame it, but Professor Bates said, the things that you wish somebody told you. So I've created what I call nuggets. Okay? So I'm just going to fly through these, take them for what it's worth. Again, with any piece of advice that you get, think about it, process it, figure out if it's for you or not for you. Okay? These don't have biblical references up here. I'm not telling you they're gospel and they're absolutes. These are my nuggets, my assumptions. Some of them I actually know Professor Bates, at least one of them I know Professor Bates and I disagree on. So first of all, I want to talk about resumes. When I was at Crystal Palace, the soccer team, I got a lot of, I was hiring for a bunch of positions, got a lot of resumes, looked at a lot of resumes. There have been several Houghton students that I've reviewed their resumes. Here are 3 thoughts that I want to point out to you, okay? Number 1, so what? Everything you put on your resume, ask yourself, so what? I'll give you an example. At Cardone, I received the presidential citation. So I put that on my resume. You know, Cardone, I put about my experience, I put presidential citation. Somebody asked me, so what? What does that mean? Does anybody here know what getting a presidential citation at Cardone Industry means? Nobody does. Nobody reading my resume knew it either, right? So what? So either take it off or explain the value of it. Don't just put something on there that doesn't have, ask for everything. So what? So if that's important, then I need to put, it's chosen for 3 of the top people in the company that have done something above and beyond that are recognized for excellence in the course of the year. And so if that's something that I see a value, put that on there. A great example, the who's who. Is that still the same value as when it was when I was there? Okay. So the who's who at Houghton, I was done that. So what? What does that mean? For somebody out there, who's who might mean something very different than what the value of who's who at Houghton is. So think about those things. What does that mean to somebody reading it that's not from your experience? Always ask, so what? The other question is, you read overall on the resume, how do you stand out? What makes this resume, what makes you any different from the other 1,000 resumes that I've received from people that are very eager, hardworking college grads? You know, how do you stand out? And that's really kind of an, soul-searching process that you need to go through. It's like, how do you stand out? And a lot of the way that you will do that is actually through your cover letter, actually putting that in there. This is the value that I bring. So how do you stand out? What have you done? So okay, you were the president of your class. I was the president of my class. Again, so what? How does that stand out? The value of that might be that I was seen as my peers as a leader, and therefore these were the initiatives that I went through and did. I worked in a marketing club, and this was the thing that I achieved, and this is the value, and therefore basically what you're saying is, therefore if you hire